Hey guys, it's Scott with scottieb Cards, and in this video I want to talk about the cards that Topps has made recently that could have big value in the future. So I had a baseball card hot take video last week, and in that video someone said that one of the random cards that Topps or Fanatics introduced in the last few years is going to be worth a ton of money. That was his hot take, and I agreed. So what I want to do is look at the cards I think that Fanatics has released since they purchased Topps in 2022 that are brand new that could have long-term value. The very first one is a brand new card. This is from 2025. This is the Topps Chrome Award winners. These are all out of 24. I'm guessing that award winners next year will be out of 25 to the year they won the award. But either way, this is a parallel of the base Topps Chrome card. I think this is fantastic, and I think these could have really important long-term value. So just the idea of having like the exact image of Shohei Ohtani's flagship card, but it's highlighting his MVP. He'll probably have a few of these. He has at least one more coming his way. Judge potentially does. But I like this. I think that this parallel could have some serious value. The next one, Topps Chrome Black out of 10. The black parallel caused all sorts of drama when they took the black parallel out of flagship, the one that's been continuous since 2003, I believe. But the Topps Chrome Black parallel historically has been one of the best looking and most sought after parallels. In 2012 to like 2014, they were out of 100 or so. They kind of got rid of them after that. They made random appearances and stops. But now Fanatics has officially announced they are the out of 10 parallel moving forward. I don't want to say that the Prism Gold equivalent in Topps Chrome, they are out of 10, which is really cool. But gold is always going to have a special place regardless of what it's numbered in Topps Chrome cards. But with that being said, the black parallel is one I think that long-term hobbyists can get on board with, as well as new hobbyists. That's one challenge we're going to have, is everybody agreeing that this card is going to be valuable, and I think the black parallel is going to be valuable. What I have here is you're going to see this is Topps Chrome Sapphire, this is the black out of 10, this is Topps Chrome Geometric, this is in the Breakers Delight boxes, this is out of 10, this is the regular black out of 10, we're even having like the autographs out of 10 and even the parallels out of 10. So they're really standardizing the black parallel across the board, and I think this is going to become one of the more sought after parallels in all of Topps Chrome in the not so distant future. Next up is the Murakami parallels. I am actually a really big fan of these. There's an artist in Japan named Murakami, and that's like why these borders look the way that they do. I'm not sure if this is a one-time thing, if this is going to be continuous. Typically, I don't love one-time parallels, but when they're this cool looking, kind of like the Hope Diamonds in 2011 Topps products, I'm actually more okay with it. But I do think this is going to be a consistent thing every single year out of 3. It's one of the few times I'm okay with a new parallel being a really random number like out of 3. I think they're cool, and I think they have good crossover for a famous artist in Japan. So very tough cards to find, and I think they're really unique and cool looking compared to other stuff that Topps has done. I do foresee these cards being sought after. And I will say, I can't see the future on any of these cards, so don't buy them because I made this YouTube video. This is just my thoughts and how I would approach it if I was buying these cards. The Topps Wood cards out of 25, I think these are intriguing. I was looking at sales history and they aren't as high as you would expect, so maybe it's a little bit premature to put them on this list, but I feel like they should be on this list if I'm being fully transparent. I like the wood parallels. Topps has done things like this too in the early 2010s, but it was like a one-time thing. They may have been one of ones actually. But either way, these are really good looking cards. I love the concept. I think the James Wood parallel is going to be one of the better cards from this entire year. Potentially, that's like my hot take. But I do like them. I think they're unique. I think it was one of the few new parallels that Topps introduced that is really cool. After that, this one is True Photo Image Variations. Maybe I'm a bigger fan than a majority of people on the True Photo Image Variations, but I just like them. I think that it highlights everything about what flagship is supposed to be. You know, kids back in the day would buy cards to focus on the images because they didn't have the internet and they didn't really have a way to look at their favorite players. So they bought baseball cards, they pinned them on their wall, they had them in their drawer, and they would look at the players' photos, and it made it fun as you're checking the box scores, you're listening to the radio. And that's kind of gotten away from what cards are about, but the True Photos really bring that back, where we're looking at these cards not as like shiny parallels, but really it's just a photo, and I like that aspect. It does make team cards. This is the Dodgers team cards. This is a Mookie Betts walk-off home run. Really cool. It makes them really cool. Here we have the NL lead leaders in, looks like batting average, if I had to guess. Yeah, Luis Ariz is there. It has to be batting average. But I like how it just shows those 3 players. I think that looks really nice. So True Photo Image Variations, I like them. I will also note this list is not in any particular order at all, so I don't like this more or less than anything else. This is just my speculation, and I can't say which one's going to be the most valuable, but I like the true photo image variations. Next up is frozen fractors. Frozen fractors are one that I may have been wrong about. I remember when they announced this alongside the taco fractor, it was just too much at the time. And so I wasn't too optimistic and positive about the frozen fractor having negative serial numbering. I thought it was really gimmicky. But at the end of the day, everything that baseball cards are outside of base cards could be considered a gimmick. So why is it a big deal if we had a negative numbering to make it cool looking, right? And so that's the concept. I think frozen fractors are here to stay. I think these are actually going more than some of the red parallels, like the waves and the shimmers and the ray waves and all those different things, which those, by the way, I'm not gonna talk about the ray waves and the lavas and the shimmers. I'm not as confident about those in the long run, but the frozen fractors by themselves, I think could be very unique. This was the first year here. Here's the second year with Andy Pajes. And then we have this year's, which I think are the best that we've seen so far. So frozen fractors, I feel confident about these ones moving forward. Next up are Homefield Advantage cards. These are not a parallel, but these are one of the newest inserts, really similar to the Downtown in Panini cards. Homefield Advantage Topps Chrome cards were introduced in 2024 Topps Chrome update, and they look good. They've come a long way. Over here on the right is Ohtani's first Homefield Advantage, the first year they came out. Same with, I think, this Babe Ruth, potentially, the Legend Homefield Advantage. But you can see they've gotten better over the years. I think that they're doing a good job. They've introduced a super fractor, which is pretty cool, and it would not surprise me if they introduced a traditional rainbow, maybe like 25 or lower, so the orange, red, the black, and so forth. But I do like the Homefield Advantage, and I asked my audience, like, what cards do you think will have value from this era in the long run? And the biggest and most overwhelming response was Homefield Advantage. So I do think that these are going to have value. I do think as maybe Topps introduces these to replace the Downtowns when they get the basketball and football licenses, that it could help these cards become even more sought after in baseball. They're not necessarily super, super rare, but they're rare enough where they're pretty valuable. Maybe I'll do a video one day discussing the print runs. After that is the Bowman Anime. We are seeing Bowman Anime go crazy. So up here we have last year's version with Ohtani and Mookie, and then we have the Juan Soto parallels down below. But we saw an Ohtani kanji version go for about $40,000 on auction. So these are getting a lot of attention, and they are very unique. Obviously, there's a huge love for anime out there in the world, and there's a huge love for baseball cards, and they cross over in a lot of people's collecting and eyes. So these could be here to stay as some of the more sought after inserts that we're going to have from this era. And lastly, that I want to highlight are the Garbage Pail Kids cards. I love these. I love everything about these. This is a personal thing. I don't know how the hobby feels. These are the newly introduced autograph versions. And on top of that, the actual art and the premise of these are even better than last year's. So here we have Cruz and Cruz, and I love how there's his autograph, but he also wrote the name of the card. Same with Paul Skeens down here and Nick Kurtz down here and Miguel Cabrera. I love that. I love everything about these. So these autographs are going to be sought after. I think the Garbage Pail Kids are going to have a good run. There's a lot of legacy with the Garbage Pail Kids, with collectors. Everything about them is good. They're not too grotesque, which I'm also a fan of in baseball cards. They kept them pretty good for kids, because sometimes Garbage Pail Kids cards can get pretty nasty. But here we have like the Triple Crown Cabrera with the Triple Crown on top of a tiger. That's awesome. Here we have Poppy Ortiz with all the little Red Sox crawling all over him. I love this Cruz and Cruz. I love the reference to SpongeBob. I grew up on SpongeBob. So Garbage Pail Kid cards, I think they're fantastic. And I did want to have other cards that could also have value. Forgive me, it looks like the other Topps Gilded card did not pop in here, but we have the Radiating Rookies. People really like those. We have the Hidden Gems. These are scattered across all Topps products, so they can be in Heritage, they can be in Series 1, they can be in other random sets, and they just pop out of those, and they're super, super short prints. And I don't know if the designs resonated with people, but they are very rare, and it wouldn't surprise me if one day those became sought after. Then we have the Bowman Spotlights, which are more short printed, which people like. This is Jacob Wilson here, focuses on the imagery, really cool background. Then we have Topps Chrome Logo Fractor that was introduced. Feels like Logo Fractor has potential for staying power and collectability. Then we have Topps Chrome Gilded, which some people really like. Some years are better than others. This last year wasn't the best looking, but the years before were really great. And lastly, we have Topps Chrome Cosmic and like the Planetary Pursuits and the other random parallels in Topps Chrome Cosmic. All of these I could see having value, but less confidence than everything we showed on this list. Other than that, let me know if there's any other cards I did not show that Topps and Fanatics have introduced in the last few years that you like, and I will see you in the next video.